Is moving to a no income tax state the best place to live or retire? Stay tuned for the full episode as we find out if this is the best option for you. Thank you for watching. This is Richard with Wisdom Investor. Are you thinking about moving to a no income tax state? Do you think it will guarantee that your cost of living will be lower? Before you pick up and move, let's take a look at some other factors. First of all, you're going to need to take a look at property tax, sales tax, local taxes, also the cost of living, rent, mortgage, food costs. You may save on your income tax, but your rent and mortgage could be higher. Also, what is the minimum wage like in the area? The climate, weather, healthcare, unemployment rate. Let's take a look and see what states offer no income tax. The states in the purple are the states that have no income tax. Alaska, Texas, Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota, Washington, Florida, Tennessee offers no income tax, and New Hampshire offers no income tax. Let's take a look at some of the advantages of no income tax in your state. We're going to look at the map of the United States here. The states in the gray, no income tax, but let's get an idea of what other states are charging for income tax. Here's California, 13.3%, and then we go over here to New Jersey, 10.75%. The dark blue here, 8.53%, and then Minnesota, 9.85%, Oregon, 9.9%. Most of these states in the green around 5%, and then we have this darker green, Idaho, 6.92%, Montana, 6.9%. We're going to take a look at Nebraska here. We're going to do some calculations. We're going to use Nebraska since it's kind of middle of the road, 6.84%. So how much are folks that live in states that have an income tax, how much are they paying? We're going to use Lincoln, Nebraska here, for example. The median income in the United States is around $70,000. We're going to use $75,000 here for conversation. If we go down here, we can see that the state income tax for someone living in Lincoln, Nebraska is $146 a paycheck. If you figure in 2 paychecks a month, that's approximately $300 a month times 12 is about $3,600 a year in state income taxes. Now, we did say there's other taxes we need to consider. Let's take a look here. So in addition to income tax, you have property tax, sales tax, local taxes, etc. We're looking at a map of the United States from Wallet Hub showing real estate property taxes. The darker the color, the lower the property tax. If we go to Texas, they're ranked number 45. So they're one of the more expensive states for property tax. If you go over here to New Hampshire, same thing. They have a no income tax, but they're number 49 on the list. Even though a state offers no income tax, they can have a higher property tax like Texas. Also, sales taxes can be a factor. Here's a map of the United States from the Tax Foundation. The darker the state, the higher the sales tax. Tennessee, for example, no income tax, but has a high sales tax of 9.53%. Washington has a high sales tax of 9.21. Wallet Hub did a 2020 tax burden by state. Here's what they found out. We're looking at all the states here that are no income tax. 1 equals best. The higher the number, the higher the tax. All of these states had a ranking of 25 and below. So the bottom line is there is some positive impact to having or no income tax. However, there's other things to also consider. The cost of living of the area that you're moving to. If you're moving to an area where housing cost is much higher, food cost is higher, utilities higher, that may have an effect on how much you're actually saving. For example here, I live in Washington State. Sales taxes are higher there. Also, cost of living is higher there. To buy a house is much more expensive. It could be $800,000 average cost in Seattle, $400,000 or more in Vancouver, Washington. If you're paying a higher value on your house, you're also going to pay a higher property tax. Rent costs can also be higher. You want to live in Seattle, average rent's $1,500. The minimum wage is also very high. It's one of the highest in the country. Many of the expenses of living can be much higher in the state of Washington, and that has an effect on the savings that you get on no income tax. So there's other costs you really need to take a look at other than no income tax. Also, what about climate and weather? We briefly mentioned if you want to live in the southeast portion of the United States, you're going to have higher utility costs. Now, if we take a look at some other factors like quality of life, affordability, healthcare, Wallet Hub came out with their best places to retire in 2021. And here's their ranking. Now, we're only ranking the states that have no income tax. They had Florida listed as number 1 on the list, New Hampshire as number 10 on the list. You'll see that 6 out of the 9 states that have no income tax were 25 and below. There were a few states, though, that ranked above 25, like Washington, Tennessee, and Texas. Washington, for example, has a good quality of life, but affordability, as we mentioned earlier, is a negative. Texas is a no-income tax state. Quality of life, they had low. Affordability, kind of mid-range here. And healthcare, a little bit on the higher end. Tennessee, for example, quality of life, a little lower. Affordability, they ranked very high, and healthcare about mid-range. So what is the bottom line if you want to move to a no-income tax state to live or retire? Right now, we have a lot of people moving from these high-income tax states like California, New Jersey, New York, moving south. And the folks from California moving east to lower taxed areas. Basically, if you're one of these high tax areas and you're moving, it is definitely to your advantage. There's a high cost of living, home ownership, renting is much higher in these states. And so just about any of these other states you move to, it's going to be lower cost of living. If a person's employed, but they're living in a low taxed, low cost state, and they're going to move to a no income tax state, but the cost of living is higher, there may not be as much advantage. If you're going to retire, there really isn't that big of an advantage to moving to a no income tax state. We took a look at some of the factors if you want to move to a no income tax state to live or retire. If you have any questions or any comments, leave your comments. Stay tuned for the next update.